To welcome Rupert Lowe to a special interview for GB News to talk about the state of the world, really, or the state of the nation. Rupert, thank you for joining me. Tell me, what is Restore's view of the current political situation? The Prime Minister fighting for his political life, the Mandelson scandal, and a civil service that could possibly be doing the right thing or one that's utterly out of control. Where is Restore on that?
Well, first of all, Jacob, can I just say what a pleasure it is to be back on GB News. It's been a long time. I've almost forgotten how to spell it. So I'm delighted that you've invited me on. It's good of you. So the answer to that question is, I think we've got basically a Prime Minister who, in my view, is economical with the truth. I think, let's talk about Mandelson. On the Mandelson issue, I spoke against the appointment of Mandelson at the time. Donald Trump described him as a moron. He was rude about Donald Trump. So on the face of it at the time, it was the most extraordinary appointment and one which didn't make any logical common sense. Now, it appears that the appointment, listening to Ollie Robbins yesterday, I wasn't in the chamber on Monday. We voted to bring him back on Tuesday because we weren't happy with the answers he gave. So I think he's been dealing, as I say, in half-truths, in half-lies, whichever you want to define them as, in half-falsehoods, probably falsehoods. And Ollie Robbins, I think, made it quite clear yesterday that actually that the Prime Minister's office had made the decision to appoint Peter Mandelson, and what the civil servants are required to do is to find a way to deliver that appointment, even though he'd failed his vetting. So I think on the Mandelson issue, it's more of the same. I mean, I blame Blair Brown, Campbell Mandelson, and Derry Irvine for the beginning of the undermining of the British Constitution with all the various reforms they did, from the Human Rights Act to the creation of the Supreme Court to the Equalities Act, all the things that they did that I think had long-lasting, damaging consequences for the way in which we're governed. And it's probably part of the reason why we've ended up with a human rights lawyer like Keir Starmer, who I think will meet himself coming around a corner one day. So I don't like him. I don't respect him. I think he's a very poor Prime Minister. If I was forced to vote on whether he should resign, I would vote for him to resign. But half of me says actually leaving him there as a lame duck is probably better for the other parties in terms of the British public becoming tired of the Labour Party and tired of the offering which he's giving the Chagos Islands away, all of the things that are completely illogical. So I think, to your point there, I wasn't in the chamber. If I'm forced to vote on it, I would support a vote of no confidence.
Your passwords are your passwords, only for your eyes. But how safe is your phone or laptop or tablet? Well, watch this. I press one button and my phone is now shielded from hackers and prying eyes. ExpressVPN is your protector. Yes, you can protect all your passwords fast across multiple devices with ExpressVPN. Premium, fast, and highly secure. Get big peace of mind for a low cost. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your online life today.
And that leaves you with your own party. And the question is, where is your own party going? Because JL Partners did some polling on your name recognition. And your name recognition is lower than mine, which you would have thought was almost impossible as you're the leader of a party. But 92% of people don't know who you are.
Well, Jacob, you're a national treasure. So
that's very flattering.
We've all heard of you because of your sort of eccentricity and your lounging in Parliament, looking like you were sort of in the public school prefect's lounge.
But you better do some lounging, because with only 8% of people knowing who you are,
I think a lot more than 8% of people. We were stopped by how many people on the way here?
Yeah, but
3 or 4 people.
But
honestly,
this was a poll of 2,200 people. Your name recognition actually gone down in the last year. There's obviously a margin of error.
That's fine, right? But let's see, Jacob. I think that's not right.
Okay, but Nigel has taken 30 years on the public stage to get to the point where his party is sometimes at 30% in the polls. How
It
credible?
was at 30% in the polls. It no longer is.
25 to 30, but how
Probably
credible is it to go from nothing, no name recognition, no real public profile, one MP on his own, to winning an election? Don't you need to be working with the Conservative Party as you are on the Public Council?
Maybe I'm deluding myself, Jacob, but I'm going to continue to delude myself, and I'm going to continue to build my party, because I don't think that survey is correct.
All right, but Rupert,
I don't know who they interviewed and who they talked to, but our polling indicates that we are polling somewhere between 8 and 10%. None of the existing polls are naming us yet. So I don't think that is consistent with what you're asking me with regard to that one, which I think is a rogue poll.
What started as a routine political interview on GB News quickly turned into something far more explosive. This wasn't just another conversation about polling numbers or party strategy. What unfolded was a direct assault on the credibility of Keir Starmer's government. The Mandelson appointment scandal, and the growing frustration many voters feel toward Britain's political establishment. Because Rupert Lowe didn't come into this interview sounding cautious. He came in sounding angry, and more importantly, he came in sounding like someone who believes the entire system is fundamentally broken. The moment the conversation shifted toward Peter Mandelson, the tone completely changed. Lowe didn't merely criticize the appointment. He framed it as proof that Britain's political class protects its own no matter what warnings are raised behind closed doors. And that's what made this exchange so uncomfortable for the establishment. He pointed directly at the Prime Minister's office, suggesting officials pushed ahead with Mandelson's appointment despite serious vetting concerns. Think about that for a second. This wasn't some opposition activist making accusations on social media. This was a sitting MP openly suggesting that Downing Street ignored red flags and then tried to hide behind half-truths once the story started unraveling. And that's where the real tension began. Because this interview wasn't only about Mandelson, it became a wider attack on what Rupert Lowe described as decades of political decline inside Britain. He blamed the Blair era, constitutional reforms, the expansion of bureaucracy, and what he sees as an out-of-touch political elite that no longer represents ordinary people. Then came the moment that probably shocked viewers the most. Lowe openly admitted he doesn't respect Keir Starmer and would support removing him from office. That's an extraordinary thing to hear from a national political figure speaking live on television. But what made it even more striking was the reason behind it. He argued Britain has become trapped under leaders who speak in carefully managed language while avoiding accountability for the consequences of their decisions. And whether people agree with him or not, that frustration clearly resonates with a growing number of voters. But then the interview shifted again from scandal to something even bigger, the collapse of trust on the political right itself. Because Jacob Rees-Mogg didn't just challenge Labour, he challenged Rupert Lowe directly. He questioned whether Restore can actually survive in British politics or whether another right-wing party will simply split the vote and hand power back to the left. And suddenly the interview stopped being about Starmer alone. It became a debate over the future of conservatism in Britain. That's what made this clash so fascinating. On one side, you had Rees-Mogg essentially arguing that division on the right guarantees disaster. On the other side, Rupert Lowe argued the existing parties already failed the country and voters are searching for something entirely new. And this is the deeper political crisis Britain now faces. A growing number of voters no longer trust Labour, but at the same time, many don't trust the Conservatives either. Reform has surged, Restore is trying to emerge, smaller movements keep appearing because millions of people feel politically homeless. They look at Westminster and see career politicians, managed messaging, and endless promises without real change. That's why Lowe's comments about attracting people who haven't voted in decades were so important, because he's trying to position Restore not simply as another party, but as a rebellion against the existing political structure itself. And notice what kept happening throughout the interview. Every time Rees-Mogg pushed him on practical electoral math, Lowe pushed the conversation back toward public frustration, toward betrayal, toward broken promises, toward what he sees as a political class disconnected from real Britain. That tells you everything about modern politics right now. Elections are no longer just battles over policy, they're becoming battles over trust.